good evening. Kathy Beatty here with Divorce Support Anonymous. Thank you for joining me tonight, Friday Night Live. I am excited to be back. I know I missed last week. It's been crazy busy for me, and I know most of you as we transition into the summer hours and summer life with kids and schedules and vacations and all that we have going on. I just returned from a week at a single moms camp, which I lead. I have for the last 3 or 4 years, and it was a joy to be there and to work with single moms and to just stress that you can do this, whatever situation you find yourself in, whether you're a single mom, a single dad right now. It's not easy, and that's why it's so important that you gain the support that you need and that you don't go through this alone. Just like I say, don't go through divorce alone. You can't go through parenting alone. You need a support system. You need to establish one. So while I was at camp, there was one woman who is trying to get away and change a relationship. And I overheard her. She was a distance away, but I overheard her screaming on the phone. And I thought, no, you know what? We don't need to do that. We need to learn some communication skills, and we need to be able to stand up for ourselves in a way in which we're not turning ourselves into a pretzel in doing that. So tonight's topic is, how do you stand up for yourself? Of course, ask questions, make comments, text me. I do have my phone right here. If you have a specific question, I'd love to get involved with that. To have a conversation has always been my goal with doing these lives. And I know that most of you will watch this later, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn. You'll watch it later. But if you're live, would love to hear comments from you. How important it is that we know how to stand up for ourselves. So I talked about, or I categorize this, put this into 3 different areas. Maybe there's a planned event that you are going into that you know you have to stand up for yourself and speak for yourself. This could very possibly be a mediation that you are going into, or a court. Hopefully if you're going into court, you're going with an attorney who really will speak for you most of the time. But mediations are opportunities for you to speak for yourself and really to take that authority back into your life, where you are making the decisions. You are empowered by the courts to decide on all the assets, the debts, the co-parenting. It gives you that authority. So if you are going into a mediation, or you're going into any type of conflict that is planned, maybe it's at work, maybe it's in a relationship, a friendship that you have, a confrontation that needs to be made, or someone is confronting you, then you do need to know how to speak up for yourself. So if it is a planned event such as that, there's some things that you need to know. First of all, you need to do your homework. If you listen to the interview that I did with Penny Rosema, who is with Two Views International, we talked about negotiation, and she talked about the key of preparedness, of being prepared. Don't wing it. If you know that you are going into a planned confrontation, mediation, business, whatever it is, do your homework, prepare for it. Now, what that preparation looks like, I'm not sure, because it really depends. I can tell you in mediation what you need to prepare for. And that is something that I don't have my workbook here. My free download workbook on preparing to see your attorney for the first time. It gives you ways in which you can prepare and plan and do your homework. One of the things in which I encourage you to do is to, if you don't use that workbook, get a piece of paper and simply put, what is it that you really want that's really important to you? The middle column, what are those things you're pretty much ambivalent about? If you get it, great. If you don't, that's fine. It's replaceable. And the third column are those things which you really don't want. You want your soon-to-be former spouse to take that stuff. So prepare. Get all your documents. And if it's in business, then what documentation do you need? What history do you need? But when you are going into a planned event, confrontation, mediation, business life, relationships. Do your homework. Think it through, because then you are going to feel more confident. It's amazing how many people go into mediation or other areas not prepared. Now, if they have an attorney and an attorney didn't tell them that, then that's on the attorney. If you're going into mediation on your own, then really that's your responsibility. And that's why that workbook, Preparing to See Your Attorney for the First Time, which is a free download upon request, will be sent to you. And it will help you prepare for standing up for yourself, because it's difficult, it's stressful, and our brains don't work at 100% capacity because our frontal cortex partially shuts down and we're in survival mode, so we can't think clearly. All the more reason we have to be prepared when we are going into an event in which we are going to have to stand up for ourselves. Next is a spontaneous event. Something happened you didn't know that you were going to all of a sudden have to stand up for yourself. What do you do with that? That is a time for you to not be thrown, to not go into survival mode, to not be fearful, but it is an opportunity for you to take a very deep breath. This actually does physically engage our brain. So don't underestimate the value. And plus, not to hurry, not to spout out. Doesn't matter how people are coming at you, does not mean that you have to react in the same way. Keep control. Take that deep breath and give yourself a moment to think about what you are going to say. If you need to defend yourself, if you need to explain yourself, then you are going to want to speak the truth carefully. Now, many times with our spouses, we get in this downward spiral, which is exactly what was happening with the woman at camp on the phone. They had created this pattern of screaming at each other, right? So she is screaming, I'm sure he's screaming on the other end of the phone, and the downward spiral has begun. Nobody wins here. It is a power struggle that is really hopeless. So stop doing it. So if it's spontaneous, maybe it is a phone call, maybe it is a confrontation. Again, you're going to take that deep breath. And then what you are going to do is you are going to respond in grace and in truth. In grace and in truth. Perhaps we should speak of truth first instead of grace. So let's say truth and grace. So first of all, we're going to wrap our mind around what is the truth that I need to speak. Not to give every detail, not to defend, but simply to speak the truth. So when I speak the truth, I have to deliver it with grace. What does grace mean? It means to speak kindly. Speak kindly. It also means to speak with boundaries. I don't have to tell you every detail. I am limited on a need to know basis. I'm standing up for myself. I'm not turning myself into a pretzel to prove to you. I'm simply going to be composed. I'm going to speak kindly. I'm going to speak the truth. I'm going to speak with boundaries. I'm going to speak within my own authority. I have authority over my life. I have authority over my children, which is tricky if you're talking children because you both have authority there. But I'm going to speak within my authority as a woman in the relationship, or as a man in the relationship, as a parent, whatever that authority is. I'm not going to speak beyond my authority. I'm not going to speak and be an authority for someone else, because I can't do that. I'm going to stand up for myself. I'm going to speak the truth with my own authority. Regardless of the arrows that may be thrown at you and the lies that may be pushed at you, what a challenge. You can play this game. You can play this game. If they want to be rotten apples and throw them at you, you don't have to receive them. You can speak kindly. You can speak with boundaries. You can speak within your own authority. Also, don't beg when you're standing up for yourself. Don't beg them to believe you. They believe you. That's on them. You are speaking the truth in grace, with grace. That's for them to figure it out, not for you. So I'm not going to beg you to believe me. I'm not going to beg you to understand me. I'm simply going to speak the truth with grace. I'm not going to force you to believe me. I'm not going to force my beliefs upon you. I am going to, again, I'm going to speak my truth. I'm going to speak it with grace. I'm not going to force anything. I'm going to speak my truth and grace. What you do with it is up to you. It's not my responsibility. My responsibility is to tell the truth. It's your responsibility to respond as you wish. And then number three on this, don't beg, don't force, and don't continually repeat yourself. If you have said it once clearly and they still don't understand it, perhaps you want to reword it a bit and state it again with grace and truth. But you don't have to continually repeat. This is not like a good shampoo where you wash, rinse, repeat, wash, rinse, repeat. No, you are standing in grace and truth. You are speaking the truth. You are speaking it in grace, respectful to the person that you are dealing with, and standing up for yourself. You do not need to continually state it again and again. And let's talk about when someone is attacking you as you were trying to present the truth and grace. You have the option of saying, I will not continue this conversation until you can speak to me in a respectful way. Until you speak to me in a respectful way, this conversation is finished. That's speaking with boundaries. So I came across a few scriptures because Jesus speaks about grace and truth. Grace and truth. So any truth that you will get, and if it is truth, is going to have a scripture behind it. So one of them is, for the law was given through Moses, Old Testament stuff, right? We had the law to know how to behave. Grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. Here's a quote, which is not scripture. Should have put this one first and then got into my scripture. But I love this quote, and I don't know who stated it, but it's so good. Truth without grace is mean. Grace without truth is meaningless. Love that. So back to scriptures, and I don't know who said that quote. I just found it as I was researching my scriptures for grace and truth. So Jesus was full of grace and truth. That's who he was. He told the truth. He didn't lambaste anyone. He told the truth. He spoke it with grace. Well, the only ones he really got angry with were those who were religious leaders who were hypocrites. So there you go. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. So I don't know about your life. I don't know how many times you have to stand up for yourself, but you will. And for some of you, this is new. You have maybe had a former spouse or someone in your life who always spoke for you and stood up for you. Now the challenge is on, friend, where you are going to learn the skill of standing up for yourself, speaking in grace and in truth. I hope your weekend is fabulous, and connect with me if I can be of help in any way. This is Kathy Beatty with Divorce Support Anonymous, walking with you every step of the way through the trauma of divorce. Have a good evening.